Okay, we're recording. Great. So thanks, Cory, for agreeing to do this. We're excited to visit your studio in Ohio, and you teach at OSU.
Yep. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Cool. So how long? So Cory, you and I went to grad school together.
Yep.
And
were you friends? Did you hang out or no?
No. So we actually didn't go to grad school together. Gus went to grad school with my wife.
Cool.
But he graduated the year before I started.
Okay, that makes more sense because I was thinking about it and I was like, it's weird because I like really remember being in the studio with his wife, but I don't remember being in the studio with him.
Sure, that's your memory.
Yeah, Morgan was a year ahead of me.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I was thinking about this today because I remember you saying that in the email, but the weekend you met me was Will Newman Weiss's show. That was the weekend we met.
Okay.
And there were naked photographs of me in that show.
God, that's so scandalous.
And so Gus and I met, and then like 2 days later, he saw photos of me naked.
Nice. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's why we feel like we've gone to school.
Exactly. Yeah.
I remember. Gus was like, oh yeah, now I remember.
Yeah.
Gus had blocked it out, but now it's like coming back.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
No. How is your wife doing? Is she there in Ohio with you?
Yep. Yeah, she's great. We actually we just got married a year ago on March 10th or March 9th. Sorry. And so she's Canadian, and we got married because we obviously are in love with each other, but because we wanted to be together in the same country, and we decided to stay in the U.S. because there were more opportunities, professional opportunities for artists here, but like not even close, right? And so so we've got a 2-bedroom at home. She couldn't work because of her pending green card status for a while. She's going to be teaching at Otterbein University next year. But for now, she's got her 2nd bedroom, and that's her studio. And she's making some incredible work right now and applying to residencies and shows. And she's doing great.
Yeah.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Southern California, never more than an hour away from Los Angeles, but I did undergrad in Long Beach for 6 years.
Ohio, I'm from Ohio. Ohio's much different from Southern California.
Quite a bit.
Well, how do you like it? I'm like even trepidatious for you. I'm like, oh my God, are you okay?
Yeah. No, well, so
blink twice for help.
I mean, so this goes back to, and like, I'm totally on Gus's side here. I think Alfred is one of the most magical places in the world. And yeah, it's incredible. I love that place so much. But I realized towards the end of my undergraduate education in Long Beach that I realized I'd spent my entire life around so many people in Southern California, and that began to be overwhelming to me. And so part of applying to Alfred was being in this place that was really secluded and feeling really sequestered from society in a lot of ways. And so once that happened, and I met Morgan, and we realized that we wanted to stay in this part of the country, that I really enjoyed the seasons, and I like seeing more trees than people on a regular basis. But that being said, I live in Columbus, which is actually one of the largest cities in the U.S., unbeknownst to me. And there's 65,000 students here, and I see a ton of people every single day. And so, yeah, it's a crazy place because from my understanding, it's also one of the fastest growing cities too in the country.
Yeah, we just kind of skipped over it because you and we just kept talking about Morgan. So Morgan, does she go by Morgan Rose Free, right?
Morgan, that's really important. She goes by Morgan Rose Free.
And that's I just looked it up to make sure, so we can plug that too.
Yeah.
So that's okay. So you guys are into Ohio?
Yeah, we like it. I'm in this position where I'm in a 1-year renewable visiting artist and lecturer position, and I'm on my 2nd year. I think best case scenario, I get to stick around for at least one more, and then I'm in a position where I'm got to really start thinking about what happens after this. But for now, yeah, we're totally happy being here.
That's great. Yeah, that's really sweet. And did you go there straight after grad school?
I did. I got really lucky. And I was thinking about what you were saying in the podcast when you're just talking about how hard it is to make work, right, in New York. And just having access to kilns and materials and so on. And that was a big thing. There were two things right after grad school that were super important to me. One is that it was first time I had student debt, right? And I bartended my way through undergrad, and I like promised myself that I wouldn't do that again after I finished. And so it was really important to get a job that was sort of produced by the last 8 years that I had been spending in my education, you know? And I learned that I really enjoyed teaching at Alfred, and so yeah, I wanted to have materials, facilities. I wanted to teach, and I wanted to start paying back student debt. So yeah, so I got a job here right after. Got real lucky.
That's awesome. So I taught for like a semester, but Cammie taught for quite a long time at Pratt. And Cammie, did you do that pretty much out of undergrad?
No, not at all. I went to teach. Yeah, no. Out of grad school, I went to teach I had a sabbatical replacement at UNC Chapel Hill for one semester, and then we haven't talked about it too much, but I was so shocked at just being like a teacher, and I was like so fresh out of grad school that I was like, oh my God, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah.
So I just took a break and just made work and stuff, and then later on I got a job like years later at Pratt. So it was like 5 years later. But
so what were you?
No, it was really hard. Like the first class, I just, like everyone's looking at you and you have all the answers. And I mean, I didn't know at the time that I did, of course.
Yeah.
I had, yeah, but you like just the confidence that you gain by teaching, that's all. Like the more confident you get at teaching is the more you teach, the better you get. So. Yeah,
definitely. What did you do?
Shocked.
What did you do after that first stint?
I worked as a preparator, and then I moved to New York and worked as a preparator, and I worked for a company called Design Within Reach doing visual merchandising. I worked at Cooper Union, just like a bunch of weird jobs. Yeah, it's like I have all these weird life experiences that are so super random.
Sure.
Yeah.
And and you probably feel like that in some way that paid off down the road, right? Because I think like when you're in it, you feel like you maybe want something a bit more stable. Well, you want to know where you're going to live for a while, and then you're going to be able to pay rent, right? And you guys were talking about that. But then also like after you do that sort of like jumping at different jobs, you look back and you're like, oh, I'm qualified for a lot of things all of a sudden.
It's like everything and nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? I mean, I feel like now that all those jobs have sort of like, given me a lot of, insight into things that aren't ceramics. Do you know what I mean? Like I have things that like, I feel like I've lived a life that's both ceramics and like not at all. Like I feel really grateful to just not have, I'm not saying that you're making bad life choices, Cory, because I don't think that you are. I think that probably you're doing great.
Thanks.
Probably better.
So Cory, what are you teaching these days?
Yeah, so I teach a lot. I teach 4 studio classes, and I co-teach the graduate seminar actually. So that's another thing that I'm really fortunate to be a part of, is that right out of grad school, I got to teach a graduate seminar. And so I teach 2, it's different every semester, but this semester I teach 2 intro to high fire classes, which is a GE course that fills a requirement in the arts and humanities. And then I teach an intermediate high and low fire class, because everything's broken up between high and low fire here.
See, that's how they break up the classes.
Yeah, it's wild. I've never seen anything like it.
They did that at Kent State too. We had
really?
a fire and low fire, yeah.
Well,
cool.
And so, yeah, so this semester's 2 intro high fires, 1 intermediate high and low fire. It's split, and then a special projects class, which is majors and students with a special interest that are developing their own body of work for the first time, and writing about their own work and showing in a gallery space. And so, yeah, it's really fun to sort of run the gamut of the undergrad spectrum in ceramics with that, but it is also exhausting to have to switch gears every day.
Yeah. So wait, are those, so if it's separated, like, is a high fire class both like it's wheel throwing and then it's also
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's
Wow.
hard. It's really hard because, you know, in Long Beach we did three semesters of wheel throwing, 3 semesters of hand building. You had to take some sort of special course, and then a bunch of other stuff too. But like, yeah, we took 3 semesters that focused on just those things.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that directly led to me feeling like I was qualified to teach these things because of how much I took them in undergrad.
Yeah. What is your favorite cone?
It's my favorite cone. Oh man. In undergrad, I was getting into some real like experimental atmospheric firings. We had these really old like gas kilns that were on the verge of being thrown away, and Tony Marsh sort of gave me permission to do whatever I wanted with one of them, and so I went kind of wild, and everything was at cone 10 at that point because I was throwing in anything I could, like it was a soda firing, when I shouldn't have been doing that at all. But then, you know, in grad school, I moved to cone 6. It just seemed like I was able to get some sort of similar results with less time and effort and wasting of resources. And so now it's all about like multiple firings. I seldom fire anything once, and it starts at a high temperature, and then I work my way down, so that I can keep some of the higher fluxing effects when I fire down, and I can add some new things to it without changing what I already like.
Do you want to like grab a piece?
Yeah, let's.
Not like what?
Yeah.
Is it grabbable?
Yeah. I got a bunch of things that are grabbable. Let me see. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that idea of like starting, you know, you start with your highest temperature and then you sort of work your way back. It's like such a smart way to work that a lot of people just don't have access to if you're working out of a community.
Yeah, that was the thing. I remember I can remember so many conversations between Tony and I. But one of the things was like, I remember him telling me, because I didn't have any background in ceramics. I discovered ceramics there. And so he's like, well, why are you're making sculpture, why are you thinking about everything like a potter? Like, you know how it's going to come out at this cone, and then it's done. He said, keep going. Like, what, you know, if it breaks, so what if it breaks, you know, because he always preached failure. And now I've sort of stubbornly taken that on to a different level in my own practice. But that's where it came from. It was just like, you know, stop treating these things as being so precious, and don't just settle for that first thing that you get. Because a lot of times, most of the times, it's not what you want.
Yeah, it's sort of funny when you're like getting into ceramics. At least it took me a while to realize that, like, I didn't have to glaze my sculptures because no one was going to eat off of them. And,
yeah,
like, you just do whatever you need to do to get the look you want.
Yeah, I think I actually can I flip the?
Yeah, you're able to flip the camera.
Oh, cool! I'm gonna do that because I think I did a pretty okay job of like separating works into sort of categories.
Oh, great.
Perfect.
So yeah, I took a little bit of time here. Let's see what I got. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So these are these weird things that I made that were inspired by all of these, like, you know, the tree grates? That, like, you see all these planters on sidewalks and stuff, and they have these tree grates and they're cut out in these really strange ways.
Yeah.
And I just thought those things were so weird, and I just started imagining. I was looking at empty ones, and then, you know, ones where there was trees in them also, and just sort of imagining other things coming out of them that didn't matter or really make sense. And so, like this one that you're seeing, and tell me if I'm moving too fast, I probably am. This is that red and orange leaded frit mixed together, by the way.
Oh, I love that stuff.
Yeah, but this is an example of downfiring. This thing was originally fired. I put it in a sagger filled with wood ash, and you guys can see all that mess down there. And that was fired to cone 10. Then I fired it again in cone 6 to get some of the stuff to change. And then lastly, the Frit firing all that orange is 04.
Is that Frit 325?
I don't. It's in this.
How do I
It's in
know
this
that?
like barrel. There's these couple of barrels that I found here. These blue barrels, and they're not labeled. It just said, one of them said red lead, and one of them said yellow. And so I just sort of played around with
That's
them.
so cool. These are gorgeous. These pieces are gorgeous, even on a cell phone.
Oh, thank you.
How many firings do they go through?
Well, they're all
Usually
different.
3 or 4 or 5.
It's always about like, there's not a number. It's not, it's about whenever I feel like it makes sense. Like it's the right thing. Like it doesn't need to go any further. Some of them don't go as far. That last little like yellow red, maybe I should just like, you guys don't need to keep seeing my face. I wonder what a better way, to just like keep hanging out with these things. Like this one, that was just 04. Like this one only went through 1 firing, and it just seemed like that was sufficient. Like it did what it needed to do. But then, the other ones, I was just like less satisfied with them and decided to keep going until I either ruined it or it got better.
Yeah, that was my next question. It is about like what happens, like how do you know when you've gone too far? Because maybe you're the only one that would know that.
Oh, all the time, right? And you learn that early in ceramics too. I think the conversation that I'm always thinking about in crits with students is when they use kiln furniture, right? And we always have these conversations like, oh, we really don't like this kiln furniture. You're using bricks and shelves and things. We all know what that is. And then, then the conversation always moves to, well, people who don't do ceramics, do they know what this stuff refers to? And how important is that? And so I don't know. It's like, I make work for me, I make work because there's something that I am curious about and I want to see it. And if I see something that's not as interesting as I want it to be, I got to keep going, because if it's not interesting to me, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter if other people think it's interesting. I want people to see things in progress too. But I need some sort of satisfaction to come with the end result.
They feel like post-apocalyptic sort of, just like sketches, like a kind of.
Very cool.
I'm like, what movies do you watch?
I love that. No, that's so awesome that you said that. Because I was, because in grad school, that was where I started to really focus on a particular subject, and that was ruins and modern ruins, and sort of the idea of the folly, right? Producing a fake ruin to have some sort of romanticized effect. And that changed a lot, driving across the country a couple of times, from California to New York, to western, very impoverished New York, and seeing all of these factories and things that were broken down, and you got to explore these places with nobody else around and imagine what they used to be used for, and feeling lucky to get to experience them now. And then juxtapose that with California, where everything is a box. Not everything, but a lot of, most things are a box, and if one place goes out of business, then somebody else is going to fill it up. I grew up in a tract home in suburbia, and cul-de-sacs and just commercial fast food places and restaurants and Applebee's and all that stuff, and so there was something very sterile about where I came from and all this character on the east side of the country that I just couldn't stop thinking about. And so, the idea of the ruin in a lot of ways is something I'm always thinking about.
Cory, did you set out any of your cups that you have? I know you've been like making them, because you have a similar thing where we both have this like ongoing series of cups that we make.
Oh man, that's great.
A weird side. It's like a side part. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know how you guys feel about it. And I'll tell you how I feel about it for sure, because I have sort of touchy feelings about these things. But yeah, so I can maybe this would be a good opportunity to actually take some of these out and hold them and talk about them. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. I'll set this up and I'll grab a couple.
Okay.
Sorry if this is like, I don't know if this is unorganized.
No, it's like way organized. You wouldn't even believe it how organized it is.
Oh, nice chair, Cory. It's a beauty. Look at that arm.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Looks like a sheriff's chair.
You know how it goes. You just, whatever you can find, that's what you get. And I've got a few good ones, but yeah. So yeah, I wasn't sure if you were going to ask about the cups or not.
Oh, this is so exciting because you were like touchy feelings, and I was like, oh my God, this is when the drama starts.
Well, okay, so one of the things that my wife and I always talk about is, and she was supposed to do a talk at Alfred before all this craziness happened, and she sort of introduced this idea about transparency from the artist, and sort of, you know, the ongoing conversation of dispelling the art god celebrity, you know, and just talking about how hard it is to be an artist, and so sort of thinking about that, I had been spending, I teach a lot of classes, as I laid out, and it's funny, it's like everybody I talk to, who, when they find that out, they're like, oh my God, you teach so much. And the hard thing with that is feeling like there's no time to make work. And even when there is time to make work, that you're sort of emotionally drained from doing that, which is super rewarding, but like, it's also rewarding because of how hard you have to work at it, teaching.
I feel like if you have to work, you experience that. That's part of that's just part of it. Like, being
and so I was used to working larger, like making larger sculptures, and my thesis work and undergraduate work was all pretty large, sort of relative to the human scale. And I just couldn't develop a rhythm in the studio to make that happen a lot of last year, mostly last semester. And so I started making these cups. I took a wood shop. I took a wood firing workshop a long time ago, and the person there, Nick Schwartz, who's awesome, his work's amazing. He taught us how to make sort of like T-bowls, like Kurinuki T-bowls, where you make a solid form and carve it out, right? Yeah. And so I'm not much of a thrower on the. I mean, I'm capable. I'm a competent thrower, and I like, I can teach it, and I enjoy doing it from time to time. But it's not something I'm passionate about. And so I just started making these weird cups where I was just like thinking about using my hands and not using tools as much as possible to determine the shape of them. And so I was just sort of like slamming them down on the table, and like I used this paper clay recipe that I developed that has no grog in it, but it leaves every impression. It's like when you're making a mold, and if you made a mold of your hand, you can see all the creases in your hand, and the clay is really wonderful like that. It keeps all those marks. And so I was shaping these things, slamming them down, letting them dry, and then I was trying to put all these handles on them, and I can sort of show you what I'm talking about. Maybe this is a good one. I was putting handles on them like you would normally pull a handle, and I was just like, well, that doesn't really like fit with this thing that I'm making. And here, maybe if I turn it, I'm gonna go this way so I can have a. Let's see. Nope. I'm figuring out. Here we go.
You can see it.
Yeah, that's better. Okay. Yeah. So, and so I just got frustrated when I was putting a handle on one of these things, and I had it on there, and I just got mad, and I just squished it. I just like in my hand, and I pulled it out, and it just had that perfect groove of how I like to hold a one finger handled cup, which are my favorite. I love one finger cups. And so it was just this thing. It's got that thumb, that beautiful thumb spot right on the top, and it fits my hand. And then I was like, oh, well, this is really great for me, but is anybody else going to think that this thing is comfortable, right? So then it was a lot of like testing this idea out and sort of opening these things up and realizing that I have small fingers. I didn't know that I did until I started doing this. And
Can we see the inside?
yeah, I mean, this one's maybe not that interesting. It's the same thing, but this one's really nice. It's got this, let's see if I can show you how this one's fun. Let's see this. Oh no, I'm covering it up. So this one, it got these really wonderful drips that like it sits on those.
On the drips.
It doesn't touch the ground at any particular place, right? Yeah, that thing's sweet. But yeah, so you got like the insides of these things are, oh, one's a little cracked. But.
We don't see the cracks.
Well, you can see the cracks on this guy because I kintsugi'd it back together.
Did you start making these? Maybe I missed it. Did you start making them when you were in grad school, or when did you?
No. I started making them here, man, I don't know how it started. I think like most things that I do that I keep doing come from. I'm trying to turn this around so I can get back to holding things. It comes from like an especially potent like emotional response to something, and I think it was probably frustration at that point to like slam things down here because I wasn't feeling really good about anything I was making.
I love that your cups sort of look like your sculpture.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like they're not too far away. Oh, that's really pretty.
Yeah. So wait, are you doing how are you doing the kintsugi? Are you doing it with the full on?
Yeah, I looked it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did a bit of research on like the way you're supposed to do, or the way it was traditionally done, right? And so it's urushi lacquer. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's a Japanese lacquer that when wet, it is actually toxic to your skin, but when it dries, it is completely safe and it hardens. But yeah, you mix some flour and water together to this like paste consistency, add that lacquer, and then mix in some gold mica powder, and then set things into place. And it takes at least 2 weeks for it to completely cure, which is like the hardest part because you're really excited about it and you want to use it.
I didn't realize you could use the pieces once you put them back together. That's cool.
I mean, I haven't died yet.
Yeah, you're probably fine.
Yeah. So I think we're kind of getting to the end of it. Yeah, I mean, maybe I logged into the wrong Zoom account, so we don't have the unlimited video chat right now.
Oh no.
Trying to wrap it up, but maybe if we are stuck social distancing for a long time, we could do a demo or something of you doing some crack repair, if that's anything you're interested in.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know if I'm the best person to demo that crack repair situation, maybe. But yeah, there are certainly plenty of things that I would be interesting in demoing.
He's like, I'm not doing that.
No, I don't think that's the one.
That's a hard no, Gus.
Like I'm just sort of like doing online research and then trying to like, just piecework this thing together. And I don't know enough about it. And I don't know if I'm gonna have enough to say about it for it to be interesting at all.
Yeah.
Okay, calm down.
I can be interesting about other things, I think.
Yeah. No, I think, Cami, do you have any questions? I mean, thanks a lot for doing this, Cory. Like we're just trying to get as much like content out there for like our students and members, and we just really appreciate someone taking the time to share their work with us.
Totally.
Cory, where can people see your work?
Oh man, I've been so terrible about getting a website going, and I just never have, and haven't done that. And now's a good time to do that, right?
Yeah.
but my Instagram is where I'm usually posting pretty much only work, and that's Cory.Mahoney. It's Cory. There's no E in there. Cory.Mahoney is my Instagram, and yeah, I'm always posting. I shouldn't say always. I can get I should be better at it. I feel the same way as you about like when you said that on the podcast about you know, wanting to feel more active, but also really wanting to keep, you know, parts of your life personal and to yourself, you know, and because I am a very personal person, as you know, moving to Alfred to get away from so many people suggests. So that's definitely a hard thing for me is posting a lot, but I try.
Yeah. Good, cool. It was so nice to meet you. Thanks so much. I love your stuff. It looks great.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I look forward to the rest of your podcast episodes coming out. It's really great listening to you all. Thanks.
Brooklyn Clay says, thank you, Cory. This was great.
Amen. Yeah, thank you guys so much. And yeah, the next time I come to New York, which who knows when that'll be, I can't wait to come by and check it out.
Yeah, we'll have you on the podcast.
Perfect.
I would love to be.
Yes, great.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much.
Bye, Cory. Thank you.
Be well, be safe. Wash your hands, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.